Most people do not lose their power because they are weak. They lose it because they care too much about the wrong things. They care about being understood by people who have already decided not to understand them. They care about being respected by those who do not even respect themselves. They care about the judgment of the crowd, the silence of others, the approval that never comes, and the opinion of people who have no authority over their soul. And slowly, without noticing it, they begin handing pieces of themselves away. A word from someone changes their peace. A slight ruins their day. A false judgment follows them like a shadow. A lack of praise makes them question their worth. A person's coldness makes them feel small. They tell themselves they are just sensitive. They tell themselves they are loyal. They tell themselves they care because they have a good heart. But sometimes what we call caring is really surrender. Not love, not wisdom, not virtue, surrender. Because the moment your peace depends on how others see you, you are no longer standing on your own ground. You are standing inside their judgment, waiting for permission to feel whole. This is where many people become prisoners, not behind walls, not in chains, but inside the need to be liked, understood, admired, chosen, praised, or remembered. The Stoics saw this clearly. A person who needs the world to approve of him has given the world power over him. A person who cannot bear being misunderstood has placed his inner world in the hands of strangers. A person who reacts to every insult, every silence, every rejection, and every passing opinion has not yet learned how to govern himself. And self-government is the beginning of freedom. The less you care about what is outside your control, the more power returns to what is within you. Not because you become cold, not because you stop loving, not because you no longer feel, but because you finally learn the difference between what deserves your soul and what only demands your reaction. That difference changes everything. There is a difference between not caring and no longer being controlled. One is emptiness. The other is mastery. One is bitterness. The other is freedom. One is a wounded heart pretending it feels nothing. The other is a disciplined soul that has learned where to place its energy. The Stoic does not stop caring about truth. He does not stop caring about honor. He does not stop caring about his conduct, his duties, his principles, or the people he loves. He stops caring about the noise, the crowd's shifting opinion, the approval of those who do not live with wisdom, the need to prove himself to people committed to misunderstanding him, the fear of being judged by those who have never judged themselves honestly. This is where power begins to return, not in becoming harder, in becoming clearer. When you care too much about everything, your mind becomes scattered. Every opinion pulls you in a different direction. Every insult feels like a wound. Every silence becomes a mystery to solve. Every disappointment becomes evidence against your worth. You begin living as though the world is a court and you're always on trial. You explain too much. You apologize for your boundaries. You chase warmth from people who keep you cold. You change your tone, your truth, your presence, hoping to finally become acceptable. But no person can live with dignity while begging to be accepted. At some point, a quiet realization must rise within you. You cannot build peace by handing everyone a vote over your soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That sentence has endured because it does not flatter weakness. It does not say you will control every outcome. It does not say people will understand you. It does not say the world will become fair, gentle, or reasonable. It says your power is inward. And this is the truth most people resist. They want the world to stop judging before they become free. They want others to change before they become calm. They want the crowd to approve before they finally stand upright. They want life to soften before they develop strength. But the Stoic path begins in the opposite direction. You become steady first. You govern yourself first. You stop needing the outside world to behave perfectly before you choose inner order. A mountain does not ask the storm to become gentle before it stands. A flame does not ask the night for permission to burn. A disciplined soul does not ask the crowd for permission to be at peace. It simply returns to itself. This is the art of caring less. Not caring less about life. Caring less about what steals life. There are things worth caring about deeply. Your character, your word, your discipline, your actions, your courage, your restraint, your capacity to love without losing yourself, your ability to face truth without running from it. These things deserve your attention, but many of the things that disturb people do not deserve the throne they are given. Someone disapproves of you. So what? Someone misunderstands your intention. So what? Someone fails to recognize your effort. So what? Someone speaks from envy, ignorance, fear, or pride. So what? The question is not whether it feels pleasant. It does not. The question is whether it deserves power. Most people never ask that question. They feel pain and immediately obey it. They feel insulted and immediately react. They feel ignored and immediately shrink. They feel judged and immediately begin building a defense. But a trained mind does not treat every feeling as a command. A trained mind pauses. It observes the wound without worshipping it. It asks, is this mine to carry? That question alone can save years of suffering. Is this mine to carry? Not every burden belongs to you. Another person's opinion may touch your life, but it does not own your character. Another person's rejection may hurt, but it does not define your worth. Another person's silence may confuse you, but it does not have the authority to govern your peace. Another person's bitterness may be aimed at you, but it does not need to enter you. The less you care about carrying what is not yours, the lighter your soul becomes. This does not happen instantly. The old self will resist. The old self has been trained to seek approval. It has been trained to scan faces, measure tones, fear rejection, fear abandonment, fear being forgotten. It has been trained to believe that being liked is the same as being safe. So when you begin caring less, it may feel wrong at first. It may feel like danger. You may think, if I stop caring, will I become cruel? No, you are not becoming cruel. You are becoming free from emotional slavery. There is a kind of caring that is noble, and there is a kind of caring that is fear in disguise. Noble caring acts from love, duty, and principle. Fearful caring acts from insecurity. Noble caring gives without losing itself. Fearful caring gives so it will not be abandoned. Noble caring speaks truth with calm. Fearful caring performs whatever role will keep approval alive. Noble caring knows when to stay. Fearful caring stays because it is terrified to leave. This is why the Stoics valued self-command so deeply. Without self-command, even love becomes unstable. Even generosity becomes a hidden bargain. Even loyalty becomes self-betrayal. Even kindness becomes a mask for the fear of being disliked. A person who cannot govern himself will eventually be governed by the reaction of others. This is why caring less is not about lowering your humanity. It is about purifying it. You stop confusing attachment with love. You stop confusing praise with worth. You stop confusing approval with truth. You stop confusing being wanted with being whole. And slowly, something within you begins to stand. At first, quietly. Then with greater strength. You begin to notice how much of your suffering came from trying to control what never belonged to you. You wanted someone to respect you, but respect cannot be forced. You wanted someone to understand you, but understanding cannot be demanded from a closed mind. You wanted the past to become fair, but the past does not change because you suffer over it. You wanted the crowd to see your worth, but the crowd's vision has always been unstable. The Stoic realization is brutal but liberating. If it is not yours to control, it is not yours to worship. You may influence, you may speak, you may act with honor, you may offer truth, you may set a boundary, you may walk away, but you cannot force another soul to see clearly. And the more you try, the more you abandon yourself. Think of how much energy is wasted trying to correct every false impression, how much life is lost trying to explain your depth to shallow people, how much peace is sacrificed trying to earn warmth from those who only know how to withhold it. At some point, wisdom says, enough, not with hatred, not with arrogance, not with a desire to punish, but with clarity. Enough giving your mind to those who do not know what to do with it. Enough shaping your life around their blindness. Enough measuring your worth by their response. Enough carrying their judgment as though it were law. This is not pride. This is self-respect. Pride says, I am above everyone. Self-respect says, I will not place myself beneath what is unworthy. There is a difference. Stoicism never asks you to become arrogant. Arrogance is still dependence. The arrogant person still needs an audience. He still needs to feel superior. He still depends on comparison. The Stoic does not need to be above others. He needs to be in command of himself. That is a quieter power, a deeper power, a power that does not need to announce itself. The less you care about appearing powerful, the more power you actually possess. Because appearing powerful is performance, being powerful is discipline. The crowd is easily fooled by appearances. It admires loud confidence, sharp words, visible victories, and external signs. But life eventually reveals what is real. A person may appear strong and still be ruled by one insult. A person may appear confident and still collapse when ignored. A person may appear successful and still be a servant to praise. A person may appear calm and still be filled with resentment. Real power is not how impressive you look when life is easy. Real power is how much of yourself you possess when life tries to disturb you. When someone insults you, can you remain governed? When someone misunderstands you, can you resist the need to be seen? When someone leaves, can you grieve without abandoning your dignity? When someone praises you, can you receive it without becoming addicted to it? When the world is uncertain, can you act with reason? When you are alone, can you remain whole? These are the measures of power, and they all require caring less about what is external and more about what is eternal within you. The Stoics often return to the idea of what belongs to us and what does not. Epictetus taught that some things are within our power and others are not. Your choices are yours. Your judgment is yours. Your effort is yours. Your conduct is yours. Your intention is yours. Your response is yours. But reputation is not entirely yours. Other people's thoughts are not yours. The final outcome is not entirely yours. The past is not yours to change. The crowd is not yours to command. When you confuse these categories, suffering begins. You try to control what cannot be controlled, and you neglect what can. You spend your strength trying to shape someone's opinion, while your own habits remain undisciplined. You spend your nights replaying old words, while your character waits to be built. You give energy to imaginary judgments, while your real life asks for presence, courage, and action. This is one of the hidden tragedies of caring too much. It steals your attention from your own becoming. You become so concerned with how life looks that you stop shaping what life is. So the Stoic turns inward, but not in selfishness. He turns inward to govern the only kingdom truly given to him, the kingdom of judgment, the kingdom of action, the kingdom of response, the kingdom of the soul. When that kingdom is disordered, no outer praise can save you. When that kingdom is ordered, no outer judgment can destroy you. This is why the less you care about external approval, the more stable you become. You stop waiting for the world to crown you. You stop needing people to clap before you continue. You stop treating rejection as proof that your path is wrong. You stop mistaking silence for failure. You become less dramatic, less desperate, less reactive. You begin to move with a quiet dignity, and strangely, this often makes others respect you more. Not because you demanded respect, because you no longer begged for it. There is something powerful about a person who does not chase, a person who does not over-explain, a person who does not collapse into performance when the crowd turns away, a person who can walk through misunderstanding without losing himself. This kind of person carries a different presence, not loud, not needy, not easily moved. He may speak gently, but his silence has weight. He may listen deeply, but he does not surrender his center. He may love fully, but he does not abandon his soul to be loved back. That is power, power without cruelty, strength without noise, detachment without bitterness. The ancient image is simple, a statue standing beneath the storm. The wind strikes it, the rain carves its surface, the darkness gathers around it. But the statue does not argue with the weather. It does not plead with the clouds. It does not become the storm. It stands. That is what caring less does to the mind. It teaches you to stand, not because nothing hurts, but because not everything that hurts deserves command. A wound may appear, but you do not have to build a throne for it. A fear may rise, but you do not have to crown it king. A desire may whisper, but you do not have to obey it. A judgment may reach you, but you do not have to let it live inside you. This is the discipline, and make no mistake, it is discipline. Caring less is not a casual decision. It is training. You train yourself not to answer every provocation. You train yourself not to chase every person who withdraws. You train yourself not to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding. You train yourself not to measure your worth by unstable approval. You train yourself to pause before reacting. You train yourself to return to what is yours. At first, the mind will rebel. It will say, "But I need them to understand." No, you do not. You need to understand yourself. It will say, "But they think wrongly of me." Let them think. Their thought is not your character. It will say, "But I cannot move on until they admit what they did." Then you have made your freedom dependent on their honesty, and that is a dangerous prison. The Stoic does not wait for the world to confess before he becomes free. He takes back his soul first. This is difficult because part of you still wants justice. It wants the apology. It wants the recognition. It wants the moment where the other person finally sees the full truth and regrets how they treated you. And perhaps one day they will. But perhaps they will not. What then? Will you remain chained to what they never give? Will you let your peace depend on a door that may never open? At some point, power means deciding that your life cannot be held hostage by someone else's awakening. You may forgive without reunion. You may release without approving. You may walk away without hatred. You may heal without receiving the words you deserved. This is not easy, but it is freedom. And freedom often begins where the ego feels defeated. The ego wants to win the argument. The soul wants peace. The ego wants to be seen as right. The soul wants to live rightly. The ego wants to be admired. The soul wants to be whole. When you care too much, the ego grows loud. It insists on being defended. It seeks proof, praise, victory, recognition. It turns life into a series of battles that do not need to be fought. But when you begin caring less, the soul grows quieter and stronger. You start asking better questions, not "How do I make them respect me?" but "Am I living respectably?" Not "How do I make them understand?" but "Am I acting with clarity?" Not "How do I make them regret losing me?" but "How do I become free from needing that?" Not "How do I appear powerful?" but "How do I stop surrendering my power?" These questions sharpen the mind. They bring you back to reality. Because so much suffering is born from living in imagined courts, imagined conversations, imagined judgments, imagined futures. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This is the burden of caring too much. You do not only suffer what happened, you suffer what you imagine it means. Someone is distant, you imagine rejection. Someone criticizes you. You imagine humiliation. Someone succeeds. You imagine your own failure. Someone does not praise you. You imagine you are unseen. The mind creates entire worlds from fragments. And then the body suffers as though those worlds were facts. Stoicism teaches you to question the story, not to deny reality, to see it clearly. What actually happened? What did I add? What is within my control? What is only fear speaking? What action would be honorable now? These questions create space, and space is where wisdom enters. Without space, reaction rules. With space, choice returns. This is why silence is so powerful. Not the silence of resentment, not the silence used to punish, but the silence of self-command. The silence that says, "I do not need to answer from a wounded place." The silence that says, I will not throw my peace into this fire. The silence that says, I can feel this and still choose wisely. Many people fear silence because silence feels like losing. They think if they do not respond, the other person has won. They think if they walk away, they have surrendered. They think if they stop caring, it means the other person did not matter. But silence can be the highest form of victory. Walking away can be the cleanest form of strength. Caring less can be the beginning of true love, because love without possession is purer than love mixed with need. There is a point where you stop trying to make the world prove your value. You simply begin living from it. You no longer ask every person to confirm what should already be rooted within you. You stop treating each reaction as a verdict. You stop handing your day to whoever speaks carelessly. You stop becoming small because someone else could not see your depth. And in that space, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a long time. Peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on favorable conditions. A deeper peace. The peace of a person who has stopped negotiating with every shadow. The peace of a person who has placed his worth back in his own keeping. The peace of a person who understands that not everything deserves access to the inner temple. Your inner world is sacred. You must stop letting every passerby walk through it with muddy feet. Not everyone deserves your explanation. Not everyone deserves your pain. Not everyone deserves your defense. Not everyone deserves another chance to disturb what you are trying to heal. This is not cruelty. It is stewardship. A person with no gate around the soul will eventually be invaded by every opinion, fear, desire, insult, and memory that approaches. The Stoic builds a gate, not to shut out life, but to protect what is highest within. At the gate stands reason. Reason asks, does this belong here? If the answer is no, you release it. Again and again. This is how caring less becomes practice. Someone speaks falsely of you. Release. Someone withholds praise. Release. Someone misunderstands your path. Release. A past wound asks to be replayed. Release. A desire for approval rises. Observe it, then release. Not once, repeatedly. The mind is trained by repetition. You become free by returning to freedom every time the old chain appears. This is why the path is difficult. The old habits are deep. You may know the truth and still feel the pull. You may understand detachment and still ache for recognition. You may know another person's opinion is not yours to control and still feel the sting. Do not condemn yourself for this. Training takes time. A mountain is not formed in a day. A calm mind is not built by one decision. You are not trying to become emotionless. You are trying to become less obedient to every emotion. That is the difference. The goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is to stop letting every feeling become law. The goal is not to care about nothing. The goal is to care with wisdom, to care where care has meaning, to love without clinging, to serve without begging, to act without needing applause, to speak truth without needing everyone to agree, to walk away without needing them to understand why. This is where power becomes quiet. The world often teaches people to chase approval, chase admiration, chase proof, chase affection, chase status, chase the image of being important. But the Stoic learns to stop chasing what makes him less free. He becomes rooted instead. rooted in principle, rooted in discipline, rooted in the knowledge that his life is not measured by the unstable eyes of others. And when a person becomes rooted, he becomes difficult to move. That is why the less you care, the more powerful you become, because you are no longer thrown around by every wind. You are no longer bought by praise or broken by criticism. You are no longer desperate to be chosen by those who cannot choose wisely. You are no longer waiting for the world to recognize you before you recognize your own duty. You simply continue, and continuation is powerful. To continue without applause, to continue after misunderstanding, to continue when the crowd is silent, to continue when the path is lonely, to continue when the old need for validation rises and you choose not to feed it. This is how character is built. Not in the easy hour, but in the hour when no one sees, and still you act with honor. Imagine the person you would become if you stopped caring about what drains you. If you stopped carrying every insult. If you stopped explaining your soul to people who only wanted a surface. If you stopped measuring your worth by reactions that were never stable. If you stopped letting rejection define your reflection. If you stopped treating every loss as proof you were not enough. What would remain? Your discipline, your silence, your work, your truth, your peace, your path. Your strength would no longer be scattered across 1,000 opinions. It would gather. And when power gathers, life changes. You begin to speak less, but your words carry more weight. You begin to seek less, but your presence becomes stronger. You begin to explain less, but your actions become clearer. You begin to react less, but your judgment becomes sharper. You begin to need less, and strangely, you become more capable of loving. Because need often corrupts love. When you need someone to define you, you cannot love them freely. You cling, you fear, you resent, you demand. You interpret every change as threat. But when you become whole within yourself, love becomes cleaner. You can offer without begging. You can receive without worshipping. You can let go without hatred. You can remain kind without being controlled. That is maturity. That is strength. That is Stoicism lived in the heart. There will still be moments when you care too much. There will still be old wounds that pull at you. There will still be words that sting, memories that rise, faces that return to the mind, and longings that tempt you to abandon your center. But each time you can return. Return to what is yours. Return to reason. Return to the breath. Return to the path. Return to the mountain within. You do not need to win every conversation. You do not need to answer every judgment. You do not need to be understood by everyone. You do not need to force respect from those who do not know how to give it. You do not need to keep proving that you matter. You need to live in such a way that your own soul knows it. That is enough. And when that becomes enough, a great burden falls away. The world may still speak, but it no longer commands. The crowd may still judge, but it no longer defines. The past may still echo, but it no longer rules. The future may still be uncertain, but it no longer owns your peace. This is the quiet revolution of caring less. You stop giving sacred energy to temporary things. You stop placing your worth in unstable hands. You stop mistaking disturbance for importance. You stop living as though every opinion is a verdict. And in the silence that follows, you finally hear your own inner voice again. It does not shout. It does not beg. It does not perform. It simply says, stand. Stand in your values. Stand in your discipline. Stand in your truth. Stand in your restraint. Stand in your peace, not against the world, within yourself. Because the greatest power is not control over others. It is not being admired. It is not being feared. It is not being constantly understood. The greatest power is self-possession, to belong to yourself, to move through praise and blame without losing your center, to act with honor when no one rewards you, to remain calm when provoked, to release what is not yours, to care deeply about the right things and let the rest pass like wind across stone. This is what the Stoics tried to teach, and this is what life will keep teaching until you finally accept it. The less you care about what is vain, the more you can care about what is sacred. The less you care about being praised, the more you can care about being principled. The less you care about being liked, the more you can care about being truthful. The less you care about controlling others, the more you can master yourself. And the more you master yourself, the less the world can move you against your will. That is power. Not loud, not cruel, not desperate, quiet power. The kind that does not need permission. The kind that survives storms. The kind that stands on the mountain in silence while the world exhausts itself below. So let them misunderstand if they must. Let the crowd shift. Let the careless speak. Let the past echo. Let the old desire for approval rise and fall. You have work to do within. You have a mind to govern. You have a soul to protect. You have a life to build from principle, not reaction. Care less about the noise. Care more about your character. Care less about being seen. Care more about seeing clearly. Care less about their judgment. Care more about your conduct. Care less about controlling the world. Care more about commanding yourself. And when you finally stop handing your power away to everything outside you, you will discover that it never truly left. It was waiting beneath the fear, beneath the need, beneath the wounds, beneath the endless desire to be understood, waiting for you to return. Return now, stand still, breathe, release what is not yours, and become powerful again.